If you have any comments, any questions, we can do that now. How do I
Hi,
unmute you? Yeah,
hi,
Terry.
can you hear me? Yeah, so everything makes sense about, the reason why it's hard, to lose the weight, using the same strategies you've always used up until age 40. Everything, all of the science makes sense. But why did it work up until age 40? Because didn't our bodies do the same thing?
The analogy that I've heard is rust. So we can do harm to our bodies in these little ways with sugar and alcohol and flour, etc. And eventually it's going to start to show up as a problem in our body.
I see.
That's
I
how I
see.
think of it. Does
So
that
it
make sense?
takes a
What do you
while.
guys think?
Takes a while.
Yeah, I think I was harming my body every day for a long time. So I lived with that pain and inflammation that ended up not being able to walk from high school, from an injury in high school. And, I talked to doctors about surgeries, et cetera. It was hurting me. It wasn't showing as weight gain. Weight gain is one of the last things that starts to show up as a problem. Yeah, we're so if 88% of us are metabolically ill, according to the people who study this, and 80% of us are overweight or obese, that means another big percentage of those people who are slender are metabolically ill.
Thank you. That makes sense.
Yeah. I know it is really hard to speak back to the part of you that says, but it worked. I saw it worked. Well, we don't know what's going on in our bodies. It's partly why I needed to do this business is I want to keep studying this. I want to keep understanding because what I grew up understanding about how to eat was so wrong. I want to understand how to do better for my body. Make me cry again. Who else? Questions, comments? Matthew, you're the only one I can see. Everybody else has their camera off. You there?
I'm here.
Yeah. I've
Yeah, I mean,
mentioned,
this is really helpful. I think that the main thing I have to think about is how to preserve the habits when I'm not in control of the environment I'm in.
yes.
I'm surrounded by fruits and vegetables in Sonoma County, and
Yeah.
then moving, going to, on a plane, and then going to a place where those foods aren't available and finding, um, and people who are eating foods that aren't those foods. That's what I have to think about, and strategize for, because if I don't preserve the habits are everything. You taught me that. The
Yes.
habits are everything. It's, that just this once means just as always.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
Mhm. And I can't pervert, because it's like going back and forth, just like you
Yeah.
said.
It's
And
making
and
it tomorrow.
there's a demoralizing piece where then afterwards, oh, I went back and, no, I have to find a way to preserve the habits, but also not be perfectionist about it. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
absolutely. Yes.
Like
Yeah.
some things may have to go, like in
Yeah.
terms of how I exercise, that might have to go. But
Yeah.
then there are some things that must not go. Does that make
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's partly what I mean by set an intention. Get pretty
sense?
clear. Here's where my boundaries are. No matter what, I'm not crossing those boundaries.
Hmm.
Um, and other things may have to be a little more squirrely.
Hmm.
I will say too, one of the things that helps me with if I feel like I'm going to have to be a little squirrely here is be quite aware of what I'm doing. Maybe even write down what I did and then how I felt about it. Like for me, it doesn't take much squirreliness before I start craving a whole bunch of stuff I haven't been craving for years.
Hmm.
So I want to notice that because it's a bigger cost than I might think when I get
Hmm.
squirrely. I don't want to
Yeah,
beat myself up over it because the whole environment is leading me there.
yeah. That's right. And I find that when I don't eat the foods that I know I need every day, that's
Yes.
when the cravings begin.
Yes. It makes sense, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it takes like 2 weeks for them to go away, is what I found, to get
2
back
weeks.
to normal. You know, like
Yeah.
if I
Like
if I
abstinence.
cave and eat like sugar or something like that, it'll
Mhm.
take 2 weeks for those cravings to go away, is what I found.
Yeah. And it depends what you do during those 2 weeks, whether that becomes 2 months, 2 years. There's the concept of slippage. I just was studying related to marriage and relationships and how easy it is to get into, oh, we're not paying attention, we're not talking to each other, we're not having sex. And pretty soon you're way down the path of, we're not close anymore. I don't even know why I'm with you. So people have to like take care of the relationship like they did at the beginning, or they have this slippage. And pretty soon they're way down the road. It's hard to get back. Similar with our eating. It takes a bit of intention to keep with healthy eating, especially during times like this, or when we're traveling, we don't have control over what's being put on the table, right? We can't get to a grocery store. We don't have a kitchen. I was going to ask Mark if he would speak up about when you have to go to those other people's houses. Oh,
Yeah, it for me, it's really beneficial to prepare ahead of time.
mhm.
Um, it- and I, Jenny, I think is probably talking about what I brought up this week, which
Mhm.
is I'm going to my sister's house for Christmas, and I already anticipate going to the grocery store like every other day.
Yeah.
And I've kind of coached her as to what I would like as options. And so she's pretty good about it, and it'll all be there. Um, but I still have a contingency of going to the grocery store every
Mm.
other day and buying fresh fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And lean meat.
Making
Jenny,
sure there's plenty of that food. It's just one of the things that makes this work, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
eating 3 meals a day rather than
Yeah.
snacking all day long.
Right. Catherine, good to see you here. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah,
Good to see you too. I'm sorry, my hair is wet, and so didn't want to come on. But I was like, no one cares. Like, so finally I turned my camera on.
No
Can I
one
ask you
cares.
a question? Do you, I know I know how you feel about intuitive eating, but
I
we've
already
also,
know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
okay, yeah, I will, no, actually, because like, I get really confused about sometimes with like the starchy vegetables and the starchy whole grains with what is actually healthy. And do you recommend just like spending some time looking into the nutritional? Because like I know for instance like I would never overeat brown rice. I love it. I would never overeat it. Whereas I can overeat white rice, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think it's because they've stripped everything out of it. And but I seem to react that same way to almost any potato. And so then I was like, well, should I just stay away from them because they're doing something in my blood, even though in theory it's fiber? I just wanted to ask you, and is this too
I
micro?
think I think it's good to pay
Question.
I think it's good to pay attention to anything that feels like a glucose spike. So
Yeah,
that's when you're talking about the white rice versus the brown rice. I have the same thing. If I eat white rice, like I start wanting everything. I just start it
totally.
triggers cravings. My treatment of potatoes is I treat them as a grain and I don't have them other than at breakfast, and or if I have them, it's a little. I don't do it every day.
Yeah.
Um, and then pay attention to how your body reacts, how your cravings react.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know with potatoes, I always just want, I'm a little like more. And I never think that that's a good sign. Like
Yeah.
that's probably like, I know enough about science to know it's some insulin reaction happening in my
Yes.
body. And if it
Yeah.
is, then maybe I should just not be, even if that food has other good benefits. I just wanted to see what you thought about it. Because I
Yeah.
do appreciate that you're always like whole grains aren't bad, you know, because like so many people have just dumped all of them, and there is
Yes.
good nutrition in there.
Yeah, they've got benefits. And yeah, getting clear. So it is something I teach in the foundations part of the Slender for Good program is
Yeah.
exactly what foods are we talking about in all these categories
Right.
and how much. And I think it really does make a difference to have the specifics. But the other thing you can do is just pay attention to, do I end up with an overexcited reaction? Does it end up
Yeah.
giving me cravings? Because that's probably a sign this is not something that belongs in my plan.
That's reasonable. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. All right, hope to see you guys tomorrow. I'm so glad you came today. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. See you
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.